Well, this is kind of bad. And by kind of bad, I mean probably the worst thing that humans have ever done. And I love how I totally didn't rip off Tim Pool's style of template for his video. Totally not a thing that I would do.
And by that I mean really awful and I've got good news. And by that I mean really awful and terrifying news. So how's your year going so far? Chinese lab tests 100% deadly virus strain. Okay. Well, apparently learning nothing from COVID, scientists are still engaged in gain-of-function research to make the most deadly viruses known to man, which will probably at some point leach out into the population, and then, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. Leach out. Oops. The virus got leaked. Now the whole world's infected. Now we gotta lock down and implement full control over everything. Yeah. Leaked.
I guess the best we can hope for is zombie apocalypse, because at least in some sense that would be fun in the fantasy fighting zombies kind of idea. I think the reality is most people would not have any kind of fun at all in a zombie apocalypse, but because we all watched movies, it seems like it'd be fun, despite the fact the characters are always rather terrified. Anyway.
I am prepared for zombie apocalypse. Me and all my friends. We have plans. And we use zombie apocalypse as a placeholder of whatever the fuck goes down.
I had a friend once, he made a joke. He says, I want and encourage a zombie apocalypse. And I'm like, yeah, because you watch these movies and there's adventure and all that stuff. But the reality of these deadly diseases spreading rapidly.
I would rather a zombie apocalypse plague the world than nuclear fallout.
Rapidly all over the place. You'd be scared to leave your closet. And you'd be fighting with Agnes in the Walmart parking lot over the last can of beans. And then if the zombies actually came, the reality is zombie bites are not a good way of actually spreading a zombie virus. So any kind of like actual zombie plague would probably be liquid, blood-borne virus. Well, I mean, to be honest, imagine a zombie virus, a plague that was airborne. Yikes. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Let's get to the news. Chinese scientists create a mutant coronavirus strain that attacks the brain and has a 100% kill rate in mice. As they admit, there's a risk it spills over to humans. Why are you making this? Like, at least the idea with nuclear bombs is that we choose to fire them. And if they all get fired, well, someone had to make a choice. And even that can go out of control. But, you make a virus that just kills everybody, and it can spread accidentally. But sure.
Yeah, but if it kills everybody that it spreads to, wouldn't it die out really, really quickly? Hopefully it doesn't stay in people for a long time and then kill them. Maybe I shouldn't even throw that out there in the world.
Maybe this will be the great filter. Chinese scientists have been experimenting with a mutant coronavirus strain that is 100% lethal in mice, despite concerns such research could spark another pandemic. Scientists in Beijing, who are linked to the Chinese military, cloned a COVID-like virus found in pangolins known as GXP2V and used it to infect mice. The mice have been humanized, meaning they were engineered to express a protein found in people, with the goal being to assess how the virus might react in humans. Every rodent that was infected with the pathogen died within 8 days, which the researchers described as surprisingly quick. Oh, are you excited for 2024? The team were also surprised to find high levels of viral load in the mice's brains and eyes, suggesting the virus, despite being related to COVID, multiplies and spreads through the body in a unique way. Oh, I love this. They're giving us everything we could hope for and more, which is a potential apocalyptic scenario. Maybe it's on purpose because then they can use the pandemic to depopulate the earth or just control people through fear.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Writing in a scientific paper.
No, I think that's what the deal is. I think depopulate and control people.
That has not yet been published, they warned the finding underscores a spillover risk of GXP2V into humans. Oh, look at pangolins. I hear pangolins are really dangerous because they have all these diseases or whatever, but look how silly and funny that thing is. It's like a goofy-looking little critter. See, the virus was discovered in pangolins in Malaysia, scaly mammals that are known harborers of coronaviruses and were heavily speculated to be the intermediate host that passed COVID from bats to humans. Yikes. What was that? Someone ate a pangolin at a wet market? Professor Francois Ballot, an infectious disease expert based University College of London, wrote on Twitter, "It's a terrible study, scientifically totally pointless. I can see nothing of vague interest that could be learned from force infecting a weird breed of humanized mice with a random virus. Conversely, I could see how such stuff might go wrong." Professor Richard Ebright, a chemist at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, told the Daily Mail he wholeheartedly agreed with Professor Ballot's assessment. He added, "The preprint does not specify the biosafety level and biosafety precautions used for the research. The absence of this information raises the concerning possibility that part or all of this research, like the research in Wuhan in 2016 through 19 that likely caused COVID-19 pandemic, recklessly was performed without the minimal biosafety containment and practices essential for research with a potential pandemic pathogens." Come on, man. Seriously? You know,
So, pretty much human incompetence is what caused COVID. And the same people created a virus that could kill everyone. I think we're fucked. I'd say we're fucked. We're fucked.
the reason why aliens are not going to give us technology is because could you imagine what we would do with it? Listen, what do you think would happen if you went to like the North Sentinel Island and handed these people a bunch of fully automatic AK-47s? Do you think they would responsibly wield these weapons? No. People would kill their enemies. You know, so it's like an uncontacted human tribe, for those that don't know North Sentinel Island. They'd kill their enemies instantly, and the rest of them would just open fire on us and our helicopters. There's the famous video where the helicopter is like flying near the island and they're firing bows and arrows at the helicopter. Like, well, there you go. If you give an uncontacted tribe weapons, they will use them in dangerous ways. I'll put it this way.
Really dumb ways.
Imagine if someone went to, like, I don't know, a bunch of Antifa and gave them, let's imagine a skin-tight suit that generates a force field, allows them to fly and fire blasts of energy. What do you think these people would do with those suits? Bullets can't hurt them anymore. They can fly, and they can vaporize anybody with seemingly limitless power. Yo, these people are going to go around and become dictators in 2 seconds. Aliens are not going to show up to Earth and give us all these weapons because we'll do dumb things with them. My point. You know, we here in the United States and other countries, we will invent something, and then crackpot, insane Chinese communist military guys will be like, I'm going to make the virus. When we invent this stuff, we create BSL-4, Biosafety Level 4, meaning 4 layers to prevent this virus from escaping.
You ever seen Jurassic World Dominion? Because these people are like that guy, the villain guy, who on the surface are like, they're like, I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this for humanity. Oops. I accidentally set my thing free that I was creating. Let's cover it up and not let anybody find out about this and start deleting everything about it. That's what happened in Jurassic World Dominion. And that's exactly how it would go down in real life, and probably most likely did go down for COVID.
When we then develop these technologies that allow for genetic engineering and gain-of-function research, other countries that don't have the same level of safety precautions set up or advancement will then use them in reckless ways, like this. And it could wipe out the planet. But how you doing? The absence of this information raises the concerning possibility that it could basically lead to another COVID-19. According to the study carried out by the Beijing University of Chemical Technology, the virus was discovered in 2017 prior to the COVID outbreak. It was discovered in Malaysia in pangolins. We know what pangolins are. We read that already. It is unclear when the newly surfaced study was conducted, but the researchers said it was possible the virus had undergone a virulence-enhancing mutation in storage, which made it more deadly. For the new research, 8 mice were infected with the virus, 8 were infected with an inactivated virus, and 8 were used as a control group. How fun. All mice infected with the virus died. They succumbed to the infection between 7 and 8 days after being infected. Symptoms included their eyes turning completely white, rapid weight loss, and fatigue. Researchers found significant amounts of the virus in the rodents' brains, lungs, noses, eyes, and windpipes. By day 6, the viral load had significantly decreased in the lungs, but the animals' brains had shrunk, and there were exceptionally high virus levels in their brains. Yo, this is creepy. The results suggest the virus infects via the respiratory system and then migrates to the brain, unlike COVID, which causes lower lung infections and pneumonia in severe cases. However, there have been examples of COVID being found in brain tissue of severely sick patients. Severe brain infection during the later stages of infection may be the key cause of death in these mice, they concluded. This is the first report showing that a SARS-CoV-2 related pangolin coronavirus can cause 100% mortality in HACE2 mice, suggesting a risk for GXP2V to spill over into humans. Well, stop screwing around with it. However, the original strain of COVID...
Yeah, they need to destroy that. This war, we're about to go into World War III, and we're about to have civil wars all over the world. And they're definitely going to release... From all sides, this is just going to be like, we're going to have viruses, we're going to have nuclear fallout, we're going to have famine, wildfires burning out of control. It's about to get insane, man. It is about to get so insane.
But also killed 100% in mice in some studies, meaning the new results may not be directly applicable to humans. They probably aren't. But seriously? Dr. Gennady Glinsky, a retired professor of medicine at Stanford, said on social media, this madness must be stopped before it's too late. Hey, look, they include a picture of Peter Daszak and Dr. Fauci, the two guys most likely responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic. Man, how many people died? That's kind of crazy, you know? Dr. Fauci funding the EcoHealth Alliance and all of that stuff may make them, you know, I don't want to say directly responsible, because I'm not saying that Fauci went to the labs, said, make the virus, and then did all this stuff. But they are the people involved
He probably did, though.
in the process, which resulted in, let's just put it as lightly as possible. It's the industry of gain-of-function research. And Rand Paul called out Fauci for his funding of gain-of-function research.
If we don't do it, they're going to do it first, so we have to do it first.
So I hold these guys responsible. In my opinion, Dr. Fauci is responsible. And it's horrifying that we're still on this path. It's never going to stop. We talk about AI a lot, and everyone asks, we know the dangers of AI. Why won't anyone stop? Because if one company stops, another company does it. U.S. researchers say if we don't make it, China will make it. And that's where we're on now. Chinese scientists working on these projects are simply saying the same thing that everyone else is saying. If we don't do this technology, someone else will, and it'll be used against us. Perhaps that is the reasoning. Perhaps this is the answer to Fermi's paradox, the doomed fate of all life, to chase after weapons or technology that will destroy them. Final thought on this. I think the great filter is probably the answer to the Fermi's paradox, or it's likely to be. Let me tell you about ignition. A point at which you get a piece of carbon hot enough to where a fire starts. Oxygen and carbon mix, fire comes out, heat, energy. And as the heat from this process, I believe it's a fusion process, spreads and ignites hits the other particles, they ignite. Ignition is the point at which it becomes self-perpetuating and consumes itself. There are probably many ignition points for many things. When we talk about fire, it's the release of energy from, let me see if I can remember my 5th grade science classes correctly. You have carbon and you have oxygen, and then I believe that's carbon and oxygen. And when the oxygen and the carbon heats up to a certain point at which it can fuse with the oxygen, it creates carbon dioxide, releases a ton of energy. That energy then heats up the carbon surrounding it, which causes the same thing to happen. That's at least, I think, I'm probably getting away wrong.
I don't even know what he's talking about
I don't
right now.
track that stuff anymore. I can talk to you about humans and politics.
Bro, you've been hanging out with Ian too long.
or whatever. But there's fusion ignition as well. There could be a period at which someone is screwing around with technology. They slam some particles together in a Large Hadron Collider, causing an atomic ignition which destroys all matter on Earth. Thanks, scientists. But who knows? What do you do about it?
I think we're just building the stack. Look at all, they're just going to have all of the apocalyptic scenarios at once, and we're creating new ones every day.
I'd say at the very least, do not make crazy viruses that kill people. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.
Well, I'm a Christian, so if we all die, I'm fine with it, I guess. I don't want it to happen, but if it's time, it's time. And to all the other Christians, I'll see you in the next life, and whoever non-Christians God decides to bring along for the ride. Because this part of the experiment is almost over, it seems. I'm not going to say either way, yes or no, like this is the end of the world, but it's sure looking like it's the most end of the world days that the Earth has ever seen, besides, you know, maybe asteroid or comet, great flood, you know, things like that. This is probably the worst thing that has ever happened to humanity, is just getting this far. I've got Dr. John Campbell here. He posted a video about 3 days ago from the time this video was made called Disease X. And this guy is a legend. And I'm going to see what this is all about. You know, just coming off of that Tim Pool video that I just watched. Maybe this guy will give me some more information on this new disease.
Hello, warm welcome to this talk, Saturday the 13th of January. Now, I want to be talking about Disease X in a minute from a small radio station in Switzerland called Radio Davos, I think it was. More on that shortly, but a bit of a disappointment first. This is from the UK COVID inquiry, and unfortunately, the public hearings for the inquiry's fourth investigation into vaccines and therapeutics module will be rescheduled.
Of course.
The hearings were provisionally scheduled to take place in the summer of 2024. They will now take place at a later date.
Yeah, meanwhile, people are still going to be getting vaccines.
And then there's some rationale given there, which you may choose to accept or not, to enable organisations to prioritise providing evidence for the inquiry's third investigation into the impact of the pandemic on healthcare. Well, I would have thought they knew what order this was in before they did this, but never mind. That's what they've said. This is from the site here. This is from Baroness Hallett, who's the chair of the inquiry. I know that the postponement of these hearings will be a disappointment for some. Yes, it will. And I think there's a degree of urgency, as I'll point out. I want to ensure
it's not just disappointing, it's outright terrifying. That the very investigations into what they were pushing on us for 3 years so far, they keep postponing talking about it. And meanwhile, people are still getting them, and they are actively pulling people off the internet for talking about them.
Sure, our hearings of in 2024 are as effective as possible. Well, yes. And I recognise the increasing pressure on organisations to respond to requests and provide information to the inquiry. Now, I would have thought they'd known that when they scheduled the inquiry at the first place. Maybe they've had to reschedule this because there was some new information came to light.
Doubt it.
We're basically not told, which is disappointing. But we are assured it's going to be finished by the summer of 2026. So let's hope there is time to squeeze in this rather important module. Because
I remain committed to not allowing the inquiry hearings to run beyond my original aim of summer 2026. How much you want to bet that it goes past that date? Because this is involving the government, and they never meet deadlines like they're supposed to.
It's not on as scheduled, unfortunately. So I had been genuinely looking forward to that, and it's pretty disappointing that that is now being delayed. Now, I want to give you something from the Mail Online now that I'm just hoping they don't know more than we do about it, because they actually say COVID inquiry's probe into vaccines is delayed indefinitely. Indefinitely, they're saying. Well, let's hope that's not the case. As Chair admits, postponement will be a disappointment for some. Yes. Hearing for the fourth module of this is from the Mail Online now. Hearing of the fourth module of the official inquiry to be what it was set of the official inquiry were set to begin this summer. A long-awaited probe into the development of COVID vaccines and drugs was today postponed, and again they say indefinitely here. So let's hope this is not the case. Baroness Hallett says, I know the postponement will be a disappointment. I wish to reassure you that we will hold these hearings as soon as possible. Good, we'll look out for it. But we're still going to be finished by the...
Yeah, they're all worried about war right now because they don't care about the people that, that they haven't cared about forever. They've never cared about us. Why would they start now?
Summer of 2026, so let's hope there's time. Now, this inquiry has cost you and me, the proletariat, the plebeians, so far it's cost us 145 million. Quite incredible. Now, I'm going to talk about disease X in a minute, but just before we do that, this is just a completely unrelated article I was reading in the Guardian newspaper from November 2022. This is Paul Burrell, who was a royal butler. And Paul Burrell reported a conversation with Her Majesty the Queen prior to her sad recent departure. And Paul Burrell reports that the Queen said this, Queen Elizabeth said this, there are powers at work in this country about which we have no knowledge. So it looks like there are powers at work, but we don't know what they are. So in Donald Rumsfeld terms, this would be known unknowns, I guess. Now, I want to talk now about disease X, which is on this website here. This is the World Economic Forum site as far as I can derive. Disease X, this is how we should prepare for the next big virus.
It's the meat and potatoes.
So this you can listen to it here or you can read it there. It's all very easy to understand while being rather difficult to understand. Now, disease X, I've been teaching this sort of thing pretty well full time since 1990. And I've been a clinical nurse since 1975 when I was a first year student. And I'd never heard of this disease X. So I looked at some of my books because when I wrote my book, I couldn't remember putting it in. So it wasn't in there, but I could easily miss it, couldn't I? So I did check in Rubens' Pathology. These are the definitive texts. Couldn't see it in there either. So I checked in Guyton and Hall, superb physiology book. Not in there either. Porth's Pathophysiology. No, not in there either. It's a fairly thick book.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? It's almost like it's artificial and can't be studied because it's being created.
It could be in there somewhere. You get the idea. Not in that one. I can hardly pick this one up. Pathophysiology. All these standard textbooks. Not in there. So it must be a new disease. Can't say I like the sound of a new disease. We've had a new disease already, haven't we? Anyway, this is just, I want to give you some highlights from the Radio Davos talk. Disease X is looming. The world needs to be better prepared to tackle a future pandemic. And you'll see here that the text is from the World Economic Forum site. They go on to say, by mapping viruses with the potential to become the next disease X, the global health community and governments can be more responsive the next time a pandemic looms. Looks like they're anticipating another pandemic here. Global collaboration and adequate funding are needed to improve pandemic preparedness and ensure fast action to keep a viral outbreak at bay. It says you can get a long way being able to produce something. Not quite sure what's being produced, but you can produce something or other that will target a novel virus before that virus even emerges. I assume here they're referring to repurposed drugs, which could be rolled out very quickly and very cheaply, and may be efficacious against a range of conditions. Maybe that's what they mean. But anyway, they're going to produce something. Can't read too much into that. All they say is something. Could even mean a vaccine. I don't know, whatever they mean there. Anyway, that will target a novel virus before that virus even emerges. It's a virus we don't know yet, but
That could also mean produce the virus yourself so you can test on it to see what kills it. And that's what's going to lead to the creation of said virus, is just us creating it to, like, what would happen.
we do know it's out there, do we? But we do know it's out there. Now, unfortunately, much to my annoyance and your annoyance, I felt compelled to delete yesterday's video. My apologies. The trick is to live to fight another day. That's what we aim for. But the video I was doing yesterday was examining a particular virus that was experimentally used to infect mice, caused a disease of the brain. And at the end of the study, none of the mice at the end of the study were alive anymore. None of them were alive anymore because a certain event had happened to them that made them not alive. And that virus, my understanding from reading of the paper, was it evolved in cell cultures in a laboratory. So as a result of going through cell cultures in a laboratory, the function of the virus had been increased. It would appear it became a more functional virus.
Yeah, so gain of
There
function.
was function, and there was potentially an increase, maybe even a gain. Anyway, but we know it's out there, so they know it's out there. Obviously, they don't know a precise geographical location, but they know it's out there. And we know it has the potential to spill over from animal populations potentially into humans. Well, yeah, there can be natural spillover events, of course. There can also be other origins of viruses. Perhaps mutate or adapt itself and then begin spreading and killing people faster than we can contain it. Carrying out research and vaccine development. Carrying out research and vaccine development for known viral families could impact humans, of which there are 25 viral families, they're saying, would give humanity a decided advantage over the next disease, X. So who knows, maybe the World Economic Forum will be good enough to develop a vaccine for us great unwashed, so it's all ready for us. I'll leave it with you. Read the article for yourself. It's all there. It's all there. Yep. From Radio Davos. Quite concerning, really. A disease X. They seem to think it's coming. Let's hope they don't know too much more than us. We'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.
Well, better start praying to God, because feels like it's either the end for us old humans. Been here for a long time, not that long. I think we're done for. So I'm just gonna focus on working just in case maybe it's not done for. I'm still gonna you know, keep myself alive. Obviously, I'm not just gonna give up. I'm not gonna let anybody take my shit. I'm gonna pray to God. I'm gonna live out in the woods, on the river. Our little community. And it's gonna be great for us. And when God comes to call us to the kingdom, I'll be there waiting for his word. So let's go.